You locked the door and still listened for it, not because you're paranoid, but because part of you knows the difference between being alone and being unobserved. You've felt that lately when you turn your phone off and the room gets too quiet and the silence feels like it has weight. I filmed my room for 24 hours, and at 3:17, something enters, and the unsettling part is how quickly your mind tries to decide what that means. At first, it looks like nothing, just a room doing what rooms do, light shifting, air settling, furniture holding its shape. But when you watch a single space long enough, you stop seeing objects and start seeing behavior. The curtain moves when there's no breeze, a shadow lingers too long in the same corner, and you notice how your body only relaxes when it believes it's safe. Stillness becomes information, and most people miss what stillness is saying.
But you're not most people, and you know that because you replay conversations over one sentence that didn't land right. You notice micro-pauses and side glances and smiles that arrive a second too late. And the exhausting part is you can't turn it off. First, you call it overthinking. Then you stop calling it anything at all, and you drift into numbness. Not depression, just muted. Answering messages like a machine, laughing at the right moments, keeping your face in the correct position. That's masking fatigue. The performance of being fine becomes muscle memory, and your nervous system pays the bill later when you finally sit alone in a quiet room and realize you've been holding your breath all day. That's the psychology behind why this footage feels unsettling. Because it isn't the room that scares you, it's what your mind does inside the room when it runs out of energy to keep editing.
The enemy isn't you, it's the survival brain underneath you. The part that doesn't want truth, it wants certainty. It wants fast explanations. It will label every unknown sound as nothing or danger, whichever story helps you function. And that's subconscious programming, cognitive bias, conditioned response, low-level software controlling a high-potential mind, pushing you toward closure so your body can relax. So as you watch, your brain will do what it always does, try to close the loop. Decide quickly what's happening, and when it can't decide, you'll feel the friction, tension behind the forehead, a subtle irritation, the urge to skip ahead. That is cognitive friction. Your eyes are seeing, but your brain is negotiating what it's allowed to accept, and the negotiation gets louder when the footage gets quieter. Hours pass, and the room changes the way life changes. Morning light stretches across the floor, afternoon makes everything ordinary again. Evening deepens corners and night arrives, and that's when the mind gets loud, not because the world changes, but because your defenses get tired. At 3:16, the room is still, and at 3:17, the air changes, not dramatically, quietly. No cinematic shadow, no obvious intrusion. Just the kind of shift you can't explain without first admitting you noticed it. It's subtle, a curtain movement that doesn't match the window, a soundless pressure in the doorway, a shape that isn't a shape so much as an absence where your brain expected certainty, and immediately you'll want to argue with yourself. Camera compression, your eyes, your imagination. But that argument is the point, because what enters at 3:17 might not be an intruder, it might be awareness, the moment you catch your mind in the act of editing reality for comfort. Your brain deletes details to conserve energy, smooths over the unfamiliar, protects you by making you blind to what doesn't fit the script. So the real question isn't what entered the room, but what part of me refuses to see it. And if that question feels too personal, it's because it is. The same mechanism that edits a room edits conversations, opportunities, warning signs, and truths that would force change. But your brain has a backdoor, and most people never find it because they keep trying to win by force, hyper-focusing, pushing harder against fear, when the sharpest perceivers do the opposite. This is the psychology of the 1%. Not money or status, perception. Delaying the label, creating a small space between stimulus and meaning. And inside that space, you stop being controlled by the first story, and you begin rewiring with quiet precision, staying with the frame 1 second longer, noticing the first interpretation and asking for the second, letting silence sit without filling it,
separating anxiety from intuition and refusing to mistake familiarity for safety. So when you see 317, don't ask if it's real in the usual sense. Ask a better question. If your mind can erase a detail that's objectively there and call the room empty, what else has it been erasing in your life and calling it normal?